We're talking with BRiAN KAMINSKAS, who is the recent inductee of the 2019 class for the Michigan High School Lacrosse Coaches Association Hall of Fame. First of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
On the honor. Well deserved and a long time coming. And I just wanted to say, what's your thoughts?
You know, overwhelming, really. When I remember when I first got the text, we were texting, and obviously with Bull and whatnot. And I remember I got it and I read it, and I sent it off to my wife, and then I sent a thank you. And I was actually having dinner with Craig McMichael from Catholic Central, and he wasn't there yet. So I was sitting at the table, and all of a sudden I put my phone down. I thought, wow, that's an accomplishment. That felt good. So it was pretty overwhelming. It was fun. It's nice.
Well, we've started almost all these conversations from the beginning, and I would like to do that again.
Sure.
I know we touched on it a little bit talking with your dad.
Sure.
We can do the condensed version of the early part from that standpoint. But you started playing box when you were just a kid.
I really started in field, and then moved over really on my brother's coattails with the box. That was more of a I was there type thing. So why not pick up a stick and run around and do some stuff. As a box player, I was bad, but again, it was really secondary to me at the time.
Bad as in not good, or
bad as in not good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not as in bad, like I'm a bad mother.
No,
okay.
Box. I had already been sort of ingrained into the field game. Mike was the one doing the box,
right.
So I was there. I'd be in the barn.
You weren't dope.
Yeah, that's without a doubt. Yeah. Now, God love Canadians. Who doesn't love the nicest group of people in the world? Every time I come off the floor, though, they'd have something positive to say, like, "Oh no, don't worry about it. You just keep going down and switching hands, or you keep going down and running around. They can't defend you because they don't know what they're doing." Now, mind you, nobody could pass me the ball because I never knew where it was coming from.
Were you as big size-wise? Were you as bigger then as you are now? Because you're tall.
I was considerably larger back then. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So from that perspective.
Yeah, my playing weight, my senior year of high school, or give or take. When I graduated high school, I was about 250, 260. Yeah, I've dropped some weight. Yeah.
Now you're a Rice guy.
Yes,
from the beginning.
Yes.
Were they the dynasty that in your days that they were with?
No, so I was pre-Ambrose. I was post-Hebert, pre-Ambrose. We were good. I mean, there were championships. But no, not as if.
Well, there's only 8 teams in the state.
Yeah, well,
You could be 7th and say I'm 7th in the state.
Yeah, right. No, but no, they weren't what they are.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
What do you notice the difference between then and now? Just as a general question.
General question, then and now. I really think that it's more serious now. It's from a coaching standpoint, from a player standpoint. I mean, any sport you do, anytime you put your time into it, it's going to be serious. But even if we were talking about playing year-round back then, or doing a summer tournament or something like that, it certainly wasn't to the intensity it is now, or the focus. Yeah.
Okay. Now your coaching career started at a relatively young age. You got to kind of walk us through that one.
Yeah, I've been around. So I'm a junior.
You're a high school kid coaching.
I'm a high school kid coaching high school senior. So I'm a high school junior, really my first year. And
you understand how unusual that is.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I didn't at the time. I really didn't. I never thought about it. It was more of a. So So I'm at Rice. I get hurt. I'm not playing. It's early season, and I'm at home, hanging out, whatever, with some buddies from the neighborhood. Going to Rice, living in Troy, and our subdivision backs up to Troy Athens High School. And some buddies say, "Hey, well, if you're not playing, can you kind of help us out? We want to put a team together." And I said, "Well, sure. I'm not doing anything." Yeah, so I start showing up and passing, catching, what I can remember from practice and growing up, line drills, all that stuff, and all together doing our best. We had a couple of guys that helped me, or I helped them, however you want to look at it. One is Gus Serrano, who would have been probably a freshman or a sophomore in college at the time, who was dating an older sister of one of the guys on the team. Also had never played. Ty Wilkinson, who would have been a senior in high school at the time, who is now one of the top officials, for U.S. lacrosse. He does like the Big Ten championship games. Right. Was there. Both, by the way, went off and played for Ron at Northwood. And so anyway, so we're kind of cobbling this together. My dad's working in the background. We get 3 scrimmages going. The third scrimmage of the year, get killed, of course, the first two. The third one, we tied. You know, like a 5-5 tie. It is what it is. And we go away. Now summer hits, and you know.
Did it hit you at the time that, how did the kids react to you being their peer, yet being in a leadership role? Or being dad in the background, your dad being Frank? Or just what it was?
It was what it was. It was. Okay. I was a guy with. I was the one guy with any sort of knowledge or experience.
Okay.
And you know,
and that comes from box.
And it was so it was really collaborative. It was always, why do we do this? How do we do this? What do we do? And you know, I had no idea for most of it, but I was good at making it up.
More of a captain.
More of a strong captain,
like a strong leadership position rather than an adult.
Absolutely.
Figurehead.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, then where do we go from there?
So.
Where'd you go to school? College?
So I went to Central.
Okay.
I went to Central. I finished at Walsh College in Troy. So back just slightly. So my senior year of high school, you know, I'm blessed when I really look at it. I played for Al Fracassa. I had, you know, Mike Popson in the background. You know, the longtime AD at Brother Rice, who was also a coach. So early on.
Were you there when Reggie was there? Reggie?
No.
Okay.
No. You know, so I'm playing for these guys. I'm playing football for these guys. You know, I'm clear again. I can play, and I still remember the practice. You know, Al says something, and it just, you know, I kind of went numb, and I thought, yeah, I'm going to work with kids for the rest of my life. I'm not only going to work with kids, I'm going to coach lacrosse, and I'm going to do this. And I knew that then. So I opted out my senior year entirely to coach at Athens.
Any thoughts or any desires at some point of teaching?
No.
So strictly coaching?
Strictly working with the kids in the capacity that I was familiar with right there.
What's your degree at Central?
In business.
Okay. So you thought business like Dad?
Yeah.
To some extent, and then coaching is being a strong vocation.
Early on for me, it was going to be coaching, and I would figure everything else around that.
I don't have to tell you how lucky you are to know at an early age what you want to do in comparison to the kids you talk to.
That's why I say I was blessed. Yeah. I mean, I had guys like Al and Mike and you know, and I'll keep going. Ron Hebert was a huge one back in the day because he was just starting Northwood.
Right.
And he was around a lot. And yeah, the list of mentors I have, Aaron Frank, I mean, all those guys. I think because I knew when I knew, I really got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I go to Central, and my entire first semester at Central, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to commute from Central to Athens every day. It turns out I'm not. So I stopped going to Central. And I come back home and I go to Oakland Community College, and you know, I start that, and now I can coach and I can go to school.
For 2 years, I went from Auburn Hills to Central.
I know you did, yeah.
Unfortunately, it was only 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And finally, I said, "This is nuts."
Yeah.
It's an hour and 25 minutes one way to practice.
Yeah.
And you're thinking,
right,
this is crazy. I mean,
right.
But I thought I was coaching college lacrosse, which I wasn't.
Right.
A bunch of club guys, but
right.
I get the point.
Yeah. So, ironically, I ended up doing that. My wife, when I was finishing up at Walsh, was going to Clarkston or Central. I'm sorry. So I ended up driving back and forth anyways while I was courting, dating her. But yeah, so I learned early on that Central was not really going to be in my future.
Seems to me, and this is just complete speculation.
Yeah.
Rice guys and Catholic school guys, having spent some time in the Catholic schools, I was K through 8th grade in a parochial school. They seem to do a better job of turning you on to what you need than maybe public schools. It seems to me. At 14, I knew I wanted to be a journalist, and my point to that is I walked into the local paper and I said, I'm the greatest thing, you know, I'm Hemingway, and the guy handed me a broom. But in 6 weeks, I ended up, you know, writing little sports stories when I was 14, 15 years old, and never worked a real job in my entire life. So same kind of thing, and I often wonder if the Catholic and the parochial education had something to do with that.
You know, I was going to say I'm Catholic.
That's a sidebar.
I'm Catholic all the way through, right, from kindergarten on, right? So I can't compare it, but I'll say this: I remember talking a lot, or being in school and in classes about, you know, you have to find your calling. What's your calling? What's it going to be? So, you know, maybe subconsciously, guilt, right? Maybe subconsciously, you're just kind of sitting in the back thinking, this could be it or this could be it, but when it hits.
Well, you're fortunate. Okay, so you start, you get this opportunity.
Yep.
You eventually end up at Eisenhower.
Yep. Eventually. Yep.
And kind of take us through that whole.
So we finish up at my last year at Athens, right? It was 1994. We're in the state championship. Stu Kowalski smokes us, this way to Sunday. I mean, we aren't ready. And by we, I mean I wasn't ready. The team wasn't ready. It's my fault, of course. And we go to the banquet, and I'm thinking at the banquet, and I'm thinking I'd thought about it ahead of time. My goal was never to win a state championship with Troy Athens. It was to create a program, a self-sustaining program, that can run. And that's what we did. And without telling anybody ahead of time, my dad, anybody, I stood up at the banquet and I said, I'm done. You guys are fine. You don't need me anymore. Go do your thing. I'm going to figure something else out too. And there was no other reason than I'd accomplished what I wanted to accomplish there. Because when we started at a local park with a scrimmage, the state championship was never on the mind. It was about creating a team.
And point out the grass, 7 inches, 12 inches long.
Oh yeah, that we would.
If a kid's 5'7", you lose them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and we would cut the lawn on our own until we got in trouble by the custodians, who then kicked us out of that park.
Union rules.
That's exactly what they were saying. You can't cut this. We're like, no, we can't. We have 8 lawnmowers here.
We've all cut the same grass.
Yeah, right. So, so now it's summer, and my dad has started the program at Eisenhower that year, or somewhere in that time frame, and we talked, and I said, yeah, I'll come over. I'll help you out. Let me just work with you for a while. And so I spent a couple seasons there. Mike was playing, and that's an interesting dynamic. A father-son coach with who was a very good brother player on the field, right? A lot of times parents don't like to coach their own kid. A brother's coaching, it was a very interesting dynamic.
Best KAMINSKAS lacrosse player?
Oh, not me. It was him, by far.
Okay.
By far. In fact, and I, never mind. Let's skip that. Never mind. No, he by far, hands down. And if there was ever a sales,
we gotta get one in for Mike.
Yeah, right.
That's all it is.
If there was ever a sales pitch for box on the field, he had played box almost exclusively up until his sophomore year at Eisenhower when the team started. Night and day. Should have been an All-American. He lost out by a vote, and I was the guy who didn't vote for him. But I just want that clear for the world. And he knows why, and I know why, and we've moved past it.
I won't even ask.
Yeah, no, but I want that on film, so he's vindicated.
To those who know, that'll mean something.
Yeah,
for those who don't,
absolutely.
Next story.
Yeah,
I get it.
So we go from there. We go, Mike and I then, he's in school, and I'm still spending a couple years.
I got to back up. That would lend me to believe that there was either integrity on your behalf for your brother.
Yep. Or
you just didn't like him, and I know that's not true. It's important to make the point.
Yeah, let's make. Yeah, no, I mean let's do it, right? So Mike was a very good player,
right,
on a very poor team.
I know this is kind of I'm computing
in
my brain while you're telling the story.
No. So I think you'll find we've known each other. So when I tell you the story, I think you'll say I understand. Mike was a very good player on a very poor team, and again, take the brother dynamic, right? So there was a lot of stress on everybody. I didn't feel.
And we should also point out this is the MSLA day.
This is MSLA day, well before. Yep. Yeah. I didn't feel he was an All-American at the time, from say the attitude or from the way an All-American should be, right? It's one thing to go up and light up and score 100 goals, right? It's another thing to go score 100 goals and be an issue with the team, with the official. He was extremely frustrated and has moments. So when it came down to it, I didn't vote for him. And I went home and I told him, I said, listen, man, you had a very good year and you made All-State, but you were a jerk. And that's not representative of an All-American.
Think you appreciated the story at the time?
No.
Think you appreciate it now?
100%. I think he knows more now where I'm coming. Well, we've coached now together for how many years? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So integrity goes part of that discussion.
Absolutely.
And the reason I'm bringing the point isn't to make light of the story, as much as there's been a history of histrionics as it relates to anything postseason awards.
Right.
There is that process. we've had this discussion 100 times. It can be inclusive, it can be exclusive, but you can't be both.
Right.
And that's kind of the same argument. We kind of reinvent it every 5 years because a lot of stuff sneak into it. So at least there has been some in the past. There's been some integrity in some of those votes.
Sure.
Not to suggest that there isn't integrity all the time, but when one high school makes 14 all-state kids, and I don't have one on it, not against it, but my best player is better than the 14th player at any school.
Right.
So
I didn't nominate. I didn't feel my guys were good enough one year to nominate. Not that I didn't think they wouldn't have gotten it.
Right.
I looked at it and I thought, you know what? We aren't there. And I didn't do it. No. And I believe in those things. So I think they're important.
Long battle back. Eisenhower to Bloomfield.
Eisenhower to Bloomfield. So we both, actually, Mike and I both, because now we're traveling together when we're coaching. We spent some time with Nick Panis at Cranbrook. And long story short,
I forgot that. I apologize.
That's okay. No, it's not a big deal. It was a season. Don Gay, who was at Bloomfield at the time, we're at the very last game of the season. He's coaching Bloomfield. Game's over, and he comes up and he says, "Hey, why are you here? I need a defensive guy. Why don't you come over, to me?" And have some talks with the AD over at Cranbrook before that. I said, I'd be very interested. So we talked over the summer, decided to go to Bloomfield. And Don left about mid-season that year. And I stepped into the role. That's actually where I met our friend Doug Monforton at Bloomfield. And
Doug was coaching at the time for Don?
So Doug was coaching for the time at Don. Yeah, in fact.
Didn't know that.
Yeah, in fact, I talked with Doug before I took the job with Don. Because I wanted to know kind of what I was getting into.
Right.
What family type thing am I stepping into here? Who are the players? And so that was actually my first meeting with Doug. So Don leaves about mid-season. I take over the head role with Doug and Mike and start to make it my own. We last about 5 years there or so.
You think your success at Clarkston had a lot to do with cutting your teeth at that level at Bloomfield?
Oh yeah, I think to a lot of it. I think it was a huge.
You left Bloomfield in a lot stronger position than when you started.
Sure. Well, I appreciate that. It was
numbers. I mean
everything, right? It was we had a lot of well, it's all going back to integrity. We had a lot of issues off field, right? And my struggle was if I were to discipline something, the school would then come in and say, you can't do that. And, so then very quickly you become sort of a lame duck coach where you have no authority. And that was the ultimate reason we left. But
to go to an athletic director who would absolutely back you up on almost every cause if you didn't, short of cutting the kid's head off his body.
Well, right.
Can't fight.
Right. Well, there were a couple of factors, right? So I'm having an issue with the athletic department, and I can tell you a story. But there's no sense really going into it. But we had some issues. And I was building a house out in the Romeo area. I'd say Washington Township, but almost nobody knows really where that's at.
All the orchards.
All the orchards. It's where we get our apples. So I drove, from where the new house is going to be to Bloomfield. And I said, okay, that's 40 minutes away. Do I want to do this every day? And I thought, okay, let me look around. Dakota, Romeo, Eisenhower, I knew was not open. So anyways, I called Dakota, and the AD at the time, I don't know, it's the same guy, says, we have no lacrosse program, we have no interest in a lacrosse program, we never will. Okay, you're out. Called up Romeo, and I don't remember who was there at the time. He said, no, we're very happy. I said, okay, you're out. So anyways, I happened upon this, I don't even know where, it had to be Lax Power or something at the time, right? Clarkston looking for a coach.
Took over for the dentist.
Yep, yeah, Jack well, yeah. And so I met with Jack.
He stole my dentist.
Yeah, right. I met with Jack, and he walked me around. And at the time, you compare Clarkston to the facilities at Andover, which is where we were. Right, he walks me into the gym, and there's an indoor track.
Right, except at the time they were playing their lacrosse games out by the elementary school.
Oh yeah, they're club. They're absolute.
Their field was worse than any maybe in the state.
Well, right, and Jack was doing everything he could to get this team together, and right. Dad coaches, and I again, look at my background. I had no issues with guys just stepping in and trying to take it over. And they would just get whatever kids they could.
Right.
And if you look at Clarkston Athletics, I mean, there's a really cut and dry code that you're going to follow. So anyways, it brings me on, and we start doing what I do, which is and Doug does. I mean, start here, because I'm sure it'll come up later. Give Doug Monfortin a lot of credit here. We would not be Clarkston Lacrosse, as anybody knows it, if not for that man. He was the driving force in our culture. And while I'm worrying about X's and O's and fundamental skills, he's hammering culture, and hands down without him. So we're tag teaming this thing now, and both working extremely well, and we're getting, we're getting some athletes, and we're starting to play some games, and go back to the mentors. Now I'm working for Dan Fife, the legendary Dan Fife. I'm working in the same athletic department as Kurt Richardson, two of arguably the best coaches and athletic director, by the way, you could be around.
Right, and having come out of a high school program, it has Alpha Casa.
Right.
So you've sort of hit the mother load as you've gone through your career.
There has never been an issue. Now I have a guy named Jeff Cozen, who's our AD, who was an assistant principal. So now I'm getting more of a let's look at these kids as students and interdisciplinary and all these other different. Mother load is more than accurate. Oh yeah, that's why I'm saying I've been blessed. I mean, and that doesn't even hit again Jolly and Frank and Ron and those guys, and John Kenny and so.
Somewhere along the Clarkston days, you went into the business of lacrosse.
Yes.
Was that conscious?
100%.
Okay.
100%. So relate this right back to Box in Canada, right? You play in your barn, Adstall Arena for the Warlocks, but you're going to the different, you're going to St. Kitts, you're going all over the place to play. And I looked at that with Clarkston and I said, listen, we need really our team. That's what we want. We want you guys to be together in the summer where we can do a lot of the things that we can't do during the season. And we can play different teams and we can, let your hair down and learn and play. And we can also bring in guys. We were blessed to have a lot of alumni from other places, like Justin Tuma, who's now at High Point, was at Princeton and Ohio State. As a coach, played for me at Bloomfield. We're able to bring him in now and work with these guys. Not for a 2-day camp, but for 2 months, and really teach. And we've been lucky to be able to do that with a lot of guys. So it was extremely conscious as a competitive opportunity that we could take advantage of, really, is really what it came down to. In
all of these interviews, the conversation has gotten to travel and the cost of money and the idea of it's a cash grab.
Yep.
You're in the business of grabbing cash.
Yep. Well,
I know. I'm painting with a bigger brush.
I know what you're saying.
Do we have from the other side, being a nonprofit guy, do we have a wrong image of what's going on with lacrosse and where it's headed? And let me ask it this way. This is the first spring that I've been asked to play club teams during my competitive high school season, which it turns out there's no reason.
Yeah.
But if club teams get a foothold in the high school world, we're done.
Yep.
Do we have the other side of the tracks, do we have a wrong view of you guys, whatever you guys might be?
Well, I think it goes back to how wide of a brush you want to paint.
Okay.
Right? So,
so there's good and bad on both sides of the issue.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, look at really the reasoning of what you're doing, right? I mean, we're taking our guys and we're giving them an opportunity over the summer. And we aren't by any means asking, to break the bank. I mean, we're saying, hey, look, this is what it costs. And I can assure you it's not the $3,000 that the red helmets are running around with.
Right.
I'm
very aware of that.
Right?
I'm very aware of that.
And we don't say, hey, we're going to go get you recruited, we're going to do this. What we're saying right off the bat is, this is for Clarkston. This is an extension. And by the way, if you can't play or you don't want to play or for whatever, you don't have to.
I guess I find it interesting, and I'm not criticizing, I'm just, it's general conversation.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that a lot of the guys that are coaching travel criticize the guys coaching high school, and the guys coaching travel have never coached a high school team.
All the time.
With the same restraints that we're stuck with, that they're not stuck with.
Yeah.
So when I go to a travel event, I've stopped taking teams to travel events because my little team from Team A has to play Team B over here who has players from 17 different schools.
Absolutely.
And that particular 17 kids on this particular team is not playing in a JV level.
Plain down.
Because the kids I have, I've got 3 varsity kids from last year and the entire JV team.
Yeah.
And now I'm playing a team that has 4 first and second and third all-state teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get crushed
Yeah.
for obvious reason.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering why I spent $1,500 for
Right.
the weekend.
Well, you know, I agree with you, and that's interesting from our standpoint. Now, I think if you really looked at what we're doing now, for the most part, we're not doing it anymore. These guys have gone and said, "Hey, we're going to go play here. We're going to go play here," right?
And that's what's happening.
You know, because I can get recruited or I
Right.
can do this, and I think you'll see the level of our play maybe for the last 2 or 3 years has gone down.
It's also some of those groups, and I'll get off
Yeah.
of the travel thing, but some of those groups now are also signing these kids up for the entire year
Absolutely.
versus because they want to lock these kids in from
Yep.
September to
There's your
March.
cash grab.
And now they're locked in and they can't play for another, they can't play with their friends because
Yep.
of whatever else. I think at some point, I mean, I know it's going in that direction.
Sure.
I
don't know how you. I frankly don't know how you stop. Right? It's always where's the next shiny new object. And
Follow the money.
When follow the money. Yeah, I really do. It is going that way. I don't see it changing.
Is there a possible way for the travel world and the rest of us to find common ground?
I think there is. I think what we need to do is, in my opinion, look out east. There's a lot of travel out east. There's also a lot of very good school programs,
Yes.
right? And there is a distinct line. I give go down to who's the guy at Ohio Machine? I can't come up with his name. Head coach Bear Davis.
Right.
Right. Bear essentially controls lacrosse in his area, right?
Well, I would argue Billy Wolford does.
Okay. Well, no,
But I get your
yeah,
point.
but I'm just going.
Billy's on his staff, but I get your
Yeah.
point. I get your point.
Right. So during the spring, all those teams, all those rec teams, all play each other. You can't come in with a travel team and do, say, a tournament or something like that, right? You must play these guys. So they sort of push that travel away, and who knows how long it'll hold. But it's completely opposite of the way it's going around here.
Does your travel program help Clarkston?
100%. 100%.
More exposure, more kids get to play.
Yeah, I mean, that's all it's for. It's really an extension of the season.
I'm curious, how many kids from Clarkston don't play in your programs? How many? What percentage?
At this
of kids,
point?
Yeah.
Probably the majority.
No, I'm saying, do you have kids play at Clarkston High School for the varsity program that play outside of your program?
You mean?
They play for other travel teams.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, all the time. That's what I'm saying. So for us, it's there.
That's the difference.
Yeah, that it's there. Hey, you want to? We've gone years where we haven't had teams.
Right.
Right? If we have 18 guys that want to play, we're going to find you a coach. We'll put them out there. We're going to go to some regional stuff, and that's it. And you know what? If we have 15 guys, we say, all right, it's not going to happen.
Well, we've always sent our kids to travel programs where we had a relationship with the coach, and I use the ski model. I'm a slalom ski coach, so a lot of kids come to me because of my expertise in slalom. I would want my kids to go to a place where I know, A, they're going to get a great experience.
Right.
B, that maybe I have at least a conversation with that coach.
Sure.
And have that opportunity, and that's about half of the programs.
Right.
The other half, I've got kids coming back now from Ann Arbor who are, travel coaches are telling them that the new coach doesn't know what end stick to hold.
Right.
And I think if we communicate a little bit better, which is kind of what we're trying to do with this, but from that perspective.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. The majority of our kids at this point are elsewhere. And we put it out and we say, hey, for those that aren't, or that want a different experience, something really smaller, if you will, and less stressful, because, a couple days a week, let your hair down, play, learn, then we're there. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Now you've taken this at an early
Yeah,
age,
yeah.
and you're now 40,
44.
44, so you've been coaching
26, 20 some years.
Okay,
yeah.
so a while.
Yeah.
Which may confuse some people because if you see the amount of victories you've amassed, it isn't overnight.
Right.
You've been at this a
It
while,
adds up.
despite your young
Yeah,
years.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
As Don Rhoda pointed out to me, he's got a lot of victories, but that's because he's been coaching for 25
Right,
years.
right.
I get that part. Is it as pleasurable today as it was then, or maybe even more pleasurable?
I think it's more.
Why?
I don't know where, right? So the heavy days of Athens and Bloomfield, right? It was we're going to win, right? And we're still going to do that. I mean, I have no interest in showing up at Clarkston without the kids ready to go and compete, but my coaches and myself. I mean that's a non-starter. That said, it's more pleasurable because I've learned how important it is to be with the kids, the boys, than it is anything else. I hear all the time. The parents. I don't have a parent problem. I'm sure I have parents upset with me, and I've had a conversation here and there. But look, at the end of the day, they want the best for their kid. I want the best for their kid. There's really no reason for everybody to be upset with each other. Let's sit down and figure it out. And I don't talk to a lot of parents, and I make that clear.
Is that a bullet point in a public relations point, or do you mean what you're saying right
I mean what I'm saying. Here's how I start my year.
Is that a fair question?
It's a fair question. Here's how I start my year. First meeting of the year, I stand up and I say, I don't want to hear from you. Don't call me, don't email me, don't text me about playing time,
okay,
about your son's position, about anything to do with what's going to happen on that field.
Okay.
I said,
That's fair.
If we're struggling in school, if we have girlfriend problems, serious girlfriend problem, work, that stuff that's going to affect school,
Okay.
then let's talk. And then the other thing I tell them is, and I think this is what they really get about me, is if you call me and you say Jimmy can't know I'm calling, my first response is going to be, my loyalty is to Jimmy. I'm going to tell him we had this conversation in the morning.
Did you come to that as experience, or did you come up by that because of the way you were trained?
Probably both.
Okay.
Probably both.
Are you better at it today than you were yesterday?
Well, I'm so much better at it today than I was. I took a phone call this morning, in fact. We have finals coming up.
No, I asked the question because sometimes you'll get all kinds of stuff done,
Yeah.
and your assistants look at you like nothing ever got done,
Right.
and then it's still done.
Right.
And it's not that you're better at it than anybody else, although you are. It's just that you've been through it so many times.
Yeah,
you just know what road you're traveling.
Absolutely.
And if you're the only one that knows that the road you're traveling down, it's okay.
Yeah.
Eventually, people come along, and having that self-confidence,
Yeah.
probably the right word.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll tell you, I take my boys, and I learned this early on at Athens. So one of the things we did at Athens is we would go to my house every Friday night, and we would order Buscemi's pizza, the big party trays, and we would, this was, God, I think maybe Atari at the time,
So you're using a Frank trick.
Yeah, I'm using Frank.
And I'm reference to Frank, your father.
My dad, yeah. And we would play poker. We would play pool. We had a pool table in the basement. Maybe ping pong if it was set up. Video games and cards. And we would do that after practice, maybe about 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock every Friday night, right? So now I take that same model. Everybody has team dinners. And I'm one of them. I take these guys, once a week, every 10 days, maybe not the whole team, but we're going out to lunch or we're going out to dinner. We do a steak dinner challenge that, I think I probably spent my salary in the last 2 years on steak dinners. Double bar and a goal, practice or a game, you get a steak dinner. And we add them up, and then we wait. We get 8 guys, we go to Lully's or we go to Capitol, and, all those little things. I would, the more time I can spend with them doing stuff like that and having fun, that's the win. That's the win right there.
You raise a lot of money for cancer, if I'm not mistaken.
We've raised over $100,000 since we started, which was Doug's brainchild, Doug Monfort, years ago.
Sometimes the off-field activity doesn't get noticed.
Yes.
From that perspective. So I think that's important to understand.
I'll take no credit for it.
Oh.
No. But what I mean is, I schedule the game, and I made it very clear early on. It's a philanthropy for the boys, and it's for the parents. And I schedule and I coach in the game, and I do that intentionally. All money raised. I don't sell a T-shirt. I don't buy a T-shirt. I have enough T-shirts. I don't buy a T-shirt, as all coaches do. I don't buy a T-shirt. I don't sell a T-shirt. Every penny that has been raised by our team and our parents.
The joke is that we've been buying colors of gray for jackets and for sweaters and for whatever else it might be. Because if I change teams, I just got to change the logo.
Right. Well, you saw Mike's right. Yeah. Right. Graphite. Yeah.
From that standpoint, we do a number of charity things, but I don't allow cameras, and we don't allow it to be talked about on Instagram. Or we're doing a thing right now for leukemia at Grosse Pointe North, where I coach football. and its quarterback club is doing a bunch of things within the boating community to help out to raise money. And
Sure.
we're not asking for any publicity. And if you do publicity, you're out of the group.
Sure.
Because charity is when nobody's looking.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
you're trying to teach them that. And I've got administrators going, no, you have to have.
You got to market this.
It's got to market this whole thing. And I said, then I won't do it.
Right.
It's just that simple. We'll either take credit for it and they'll learn something. And they look at you like you're a Martian because everything has to be monetized.
Right.
Everything has to be moved in sort of in that direction.
Yeah.
We did a cup between St. Mary's and Orchard Lake when Kim Remeshevsky, who was at the time Detroit Lacrosse, we thought it would be cool to do a traveling trophy, which turned out to be an old butter churn that my mom had gotten. And it was, I literally pulled it off of an antique shelf in the back of the house, put some stuff on it with paint, and they've in the last, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years, what it is for Ken's son who had heart disease.
Yeah.
I mean, just, you don't think those things will grow, but those things, they do matter.
They're always there, yeah, absolutely, they grow.
You've gotten close at Clarkston. You've never quite got over the hill. And what's where are you right now from a competitive standpoint?
We've got a good program. I mean, I think everybody says that and believes it.
Let me ask you a better question. Yeah. When the first day of the season opens, you're strapped up to play in June.
Yep.
That doesn't change. I understand that.
Yeah.
And having gotten close, I got there and then got beat in overtime because we lost an 8-goal lead.
Right.
That lead at you 10 years later it eats at you.
Right.
My point, and for me, in 2009 was when we played, so it's coming up on a 10-year anniversary. My point is there still that drive to want to get to play in June?
Oh yeah, I don't think that goes away.
Can you play in June this year?
I think we can. I really do. So
okay.
We were for our program, in a very unique situation last year where we only had 4 seniors. 3 really played. And that's how we start the year. And then we go into spring break and we walk out of spring break relatively injured. So we also, I believe in growth. Like we're going to take chances on kids. And I will fight my staff all day long where I'm saying, this kid's coming along, he'll be fine. And they're like, he's not ready. We took 4 freshmen. All 4 freshmen played beyond significant time last year. And now they're strapped up and they're ready to go. We have 12 seniors and 4 sophomores now that are experienced as you'd expect a junior to be, and a very good complement of juniors. Yeah, when we step up in March, we're going to have our sights in June. I mean, we're going to have a very good team.
Do you have a second varsity team?
We do not. We did it once.
There's a bunch of those teams out there. Rice has one, Brighton has one, Grosse Pointe South has one, which that's another story.
Right.
I won't make any disparaging comments from that.
I get it.
Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, we did it once. I will never do it again. For a couple of reasons.
You do have a freshman team and you do have a JV team?
We don't have a freshman team. We do have the JV.
Okay.
We do have the JV.
Did you not once have a freshman team?
We did have one at once, and then eventually came into the 2 varsities. And, so for a couple reasons, and this isn't knocking. Hey, everybody has their own reasons and whatnot. I didn't like handing out 70 varsity letters or whatever we did that year. And that's not to say those kids didn't put in the time and everything else. I also knew at the end of that summer that a lot of those kids that got their varsity letter on that B team, if you will, weren't coming back or were going to get cut. There just wasn't room for them. From the quote unquote, whatever, varsity blue, varsity A, whatever you want to call it. And I don't think that's fair to the kid. Now you have your letter, but you're still not good enough to play here, right? That puts him in a situation as a senior. And a lot of it was chasing the letter. A lot of those kids quit the next year because they knew they weren't going to make it. So now we've just handed out all these letters, which to me is pretty sacred, which is my other issue with spring club ball. You're taking away that experience. And now these kids got it. And again, they've worked for it. They've done it all. But now they've quit. And they have the letter, No,
to me, the easiest argument, when I go into Waterford Mott, I see my son's picture hanging for 2 sports, all-state and skiing and lacrosse. We're going to hang a picture if he plays for a club team. It's memories, and I get that. And we were USSA skiers, meaning travel. And in our problem was it was the same season because you had to snow's only on the ground for part of the year, so you had to combine those 2 seasons. So it became, I think, a pretty good understanding interest of how that works.
Yeah.
But kids don't have the high school experience. The other part of it is these kids will go in the fall and they'll play in these all-star games for football.
Yep.
Down in Texas, they'll play in some kind of a bowl. Then they come back and their entire senior years are gone. And the reality to it is the last 4 weeks of your senior year, you should be sitting on the back of a car in the parking lot with your buddies. You should go to prom.
Yep.
You should do all the stupid things that
Yep.
18-year-olds do.
Yep, I agree.
And instead, they ship them off at 17 to a university like Michigan State or Michigan or Texas A&M, and they're lost because they're 17 years old and nothing against it. But by the time January and September comes of that 18th year, there's a lot of growing up over the summer.
A lot.
That they miss.
Yeah.
And you wonder how many kids don't get that opportunity. And it's not, but coaches got to have them.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree. You know, the other thing too, with you were saying with the 2 varsity teams, is when we did it, I think there were only 2 other ones in the state. So it also came out to we were sending guys out to play, up essentially, and they just got destroyed, or flip it.
Right.
And they were destroying people.
Well,
now the landscape's changed a little.
We just took over a program in Ann Arbor that had a game against a B team from Brighton.
Yeah.
Whose coach is one of my closer friends, and I canceled the game because I don't believe in B teams, and I don't believe that I'm going to play your second string.
Right.
What do I gain out of playing your second string? And everybody said we beat Brighton, yeah, but you beat the JV team.
Well, what are you telling the kids? So
we're not good enough to compete.
Well, right. So I always, for a lot of reasons, obvious ones, have had a relationship with Brother Rex. Aj and I, we went to school together, right? So they would always say, "Come play the B team." Right? Now, early on in our development, we went and scrimmaged the B team before the season, right? And then they would say, "Well, now let's play during the year." And my response, first of all, I would always tell my kids, "You don't want to play the B team anymore? Beat them." And they did once, and we never did again. So, again, it was a scrimmage, but so then as the years went on, they said, "Come on, let's schedule the B." And I said, "Listen, I have an issue. If I beat you, I beat the B team. It means nothing, right? If I lose to you, and then I have to face your A team in the playoffs, what do I tell my kids? We weren't good enough to beat the B team. But by all means, let's get ready for the A." Doesn't work.
We've played half a dozen times over the years.
Yeah, at least, yeah.
There's been times when I had a lot of talent and I beat you. There's been times when you've had a lot of talent and beaten me. And there's been a lot of time when we've had equal talent and it's been 1 or 2 goal games either way. I'm not sure that coaching has anything to do with that. It has to do with the talent
Eventually, you
levels.
step away and you let the boys go.
I'm not saying that we don't have an influence on the process.
Sure.
When I've had talent, we've had good teams. When I don't, and one of the things we've been talking about through this series is that sometimes I think we give Coach of the Year to the best team, where sometimes I think we should give Coach of the Year to the guy who's done the most with the least.
Yeah.
And that's something that gets lost. I'm not so sure we shouldn't add that to our trophy base. I know that's, again, a subjective discussion, but a guy goes 400 or 500 with a team that nobody expected him to. And you know those teams because you go, holy crap. Did you see what they did?
The level has risen.
Did you see what they played against?
Sure.
They lost to this team by a goal, or they did this, or they did.
Sure.
We pass that off.
I agree.
And to me, that's the best coaching jobs from that standpoint.
It's interesting you say that because I would say all the times I've won it and the one time I didn't, my dad won it, were those situations. The most with the least. At least that's the way I always perceived it. Yeah.
I've screwed up games as a coach. I've screwed up. And I've not screwed up games as a coach. Sometimes you're just trying to get out of the way. What's next for BRiAN? What's next for lacrosse in your mind?
For me?
Yeah.
Today I plan to retire at CLARKSTON'S. So whenever they're done with me, and I'm sure that'll be clear. I don't necessarily mean from an administration standpoint. The day I show up and the kids all look at me sideways, like whatever you just said is odd, or no.
It's an ugly day.
Yeah, or I don't want to go out to lunch.
I just had that day. It's
not
fun.
Right. Well, I'll know that, and I mean, I knew it at Bloomfield, frankly. I knew that. When that day happens, I don't know. If it's the next couple of years, that's one story. If it's like I'm hoping another 20 years from now, then I'll ride off into the sunset and be quite happy.
A friend of mine who coaches up in the Thumb area of Michigan this year retired because on the last game of the season, as he was going to get on the bus, every window was lined with somebody mooning him from his team, and there was something written on their desk, their derriere, that they that would suggest that they really didn't want to go to banquet with the guy. So he knew that it was time to go from that standpoint.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So who knows?
One question that I've asked, and this will be my last question, is what don't we know about you?
What don't we
And here's
know?
my point to that, is that we see kind of you've been really good about doing socials and trying to get people together and doing all the rest of it. Do we know everything? Are you as open as you seem?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know that answer. Here's the thing. You want to know what I want to do?
You're a really good public relations guy. But when the lights are off and you're talking to Mike...
okay. So I'm sorry. I don't know.
No, I'm just...
Yeah, no.
Is there something I don't know
I
about
would
you
say this. I am probably the least talkative person in the room 9 out of 10 times. I'll do the socials. I'll do all that. But it takes me a lot of work to get up and get me going. I am quite happy sitting in the chair in the corner and watching and observing, and if I don't talk to you all night, I'm okay with that. Do your thing and enjoy yourself. I just like to learn and watch and, have a couple of quick conversations. I'm probably a lot more quiet than I come off in real life.
What would Frank say today? Proud of you? Obviously.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
I think he would say, you've done a very nice job. Call Doug. And
I would say call Doug.
I know.
I've said you call Doug, but that's neither here nor there.
I know. Call Doug and, what are we doing today in practice? I think those are the three things. I mean, it was pretty straightforward.
So like father, like son.
Yeah, I think so.
Appreciate your opportunities to talk to you. First of all, congratulations on this year's induction to the
Thank you.
Hall
You
of
too,
Fame.
by the way.
I appreciate that. And like all of these interviews, I get to know people better than I didn't know before.
Sure.
And this is the one thing I'm hoping to be able to share, because the conversations have been phenomenal. So thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate it. Thank you.